Oh, South Africa's
Yeah,
beautiful. I've been there too.
But he went for a hunting trip.
Right.
You know, my grandfather's name was Harold Bingo, and he invented bingo. Are you aware of that?
Do you move your can, or is it the base
I'm not
can?
kidding.
There's a base.
They don't even. We could be talking about anything.
Yeah.
They don't have any idea.
Get their own table.
Get their own table. It doesn't make a
Ahead
difference.
of time.
Right.
They'll take you out there. They'll take you so close to these animals.
So we should have sex
And
sometime.
No nature show.
Is that like
no
Yes, we should.
Possibly
Really?
come close to what it's
Because
been.
when you're right there.
So here we are, season 2, episode 3, Trick or Treat.
Yes.
Guess what? It takes place on Halloween.
Also the day before and
Yes.
the day after.
And we start out, and they're at I thought it was a party, but they're at a restaurant in a waiting little lounge area, and they're with Cliff, a friend of theirs who's in a wheelchair.
Right.
And Cliff's wife, Shelley. And
Holly Wartell, who I worked at Second City with.
Uh-huh.
Lovely person,
Terrific.
lovely actress. She had the combo platter going.
person actress.
Yes.
And Cliff is in a wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know why. And Cliff, it's apparently they're going to a screening of Cliff's film. His name is on the marquee.
Right.
He's very excited. And Larry enters. He saw the marquee and he sits down next to Cliff's wife, Shelley, and in a very awkward, uncomfortable.
Wait, are you talking about at the show?
No, in the where they're waiting to go to dinner. Before they're called in, they're in the lounge before they go to dinner.
Area. I completely was lost.
And he sits next to her. He's too close to her. He puts his arm up on the thing. It looks like his arm is around her, but it's not. But you know, it portends poorly.
By the way, everything that he does early on will lead to
Something.
Yeah,
that he's doing.
Yeah.
Nothing's by accident.
Yeah.
And it's Cliff Cobb is the guy's name, and Larry at one point says to Shelley, how's Cheryl's present? It's Cheryl's birthday on Friday. The bracelet she's making, apparently Cheryl likes bracelets because we dealt with that in last season.
Yeah.
Who doesn't like a bracelet?
I wouldn't wear a bracelet. I like watches. If
so
I
do
wore a bracelet, I know guys who wear bracelets.
It's not for you.
But
I'm not
I
a
love
guy
a good
in a
watch.
jewelry thing either.
Guy jewelry, no. If you wear jewelry around your neck as a man, look in the mirror.
Unless
Hold
you're
on.
a baseball player.
If they play good, they can wear what they want. But I think you should look in the mirror and reevaluate things.
I agree.
Am I living my
You know what else I
best
don't like?
life? What?
I don't like men in cologne.
Men in cologne?
Men wearing cologne.
I used to wear as a kid, I swear to God, my whole teenage years, Paco Rabanne.
Oh, you did?
Yes. By the way, I didn't pour it on. A little dab will do you.
Little dab will do you, definitely. So it's Cheryl's birthday. Shelley is apparently making a bracelet for Cheryl. She says it'll be ready by Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're sitting at dinner, and Cheryl and Cliff are totally engaged with one another,
Right.
leaving out.
By the way, they did a great job with that.
Terrific.
It didn't feel like bullshit.
And I, as so many things, I just got that sense that was Larry with his ex-wife, that she was engaged with, and he was just completely left out.
Right.
That's where I think that came from. I don't know
Right.
for sure, but didn't that
in
feel
real
like
life,
that? Yeah.
I have no comment.
Yeah.
I don't like talking about Larry's personal life, and you should be ashamed.
Okay, I feel tremendous shame right now. But so they're totally engaged, Cheryl and Cliff, in a conversation about the Amazon and things that would not interest Larry whatsoever.
Right.
And you see Shelley and Larry just left out and just kind of looking at each other. And is this wait? He doesn't say that. Oh, he starts making stupid conversation about his napkin. You see, he's trying to make conversation with Shelley. I have to put a napkin on, whatever. In order and Larry then orders a Cobb salad.
Yes. And by the way, in the most beautiful way.
In the most beautiful way.
And by the way, I've
Jeff?
never heard of anyone, I've never been with anyone, including myself, I'm always with myself, who has ordered a Cobb salad and didn't make an adjustment to the Cobb salad.
I always,
no bacon,
first of all, I
no
love
blue
a Cobb
cheese.
salad.
By the way, big bowl of delicious.
But I always
I
say
hate
no blue cheese.
Yeah. Oh, but look at us. What's the thing when you say jinx?
Jinx.
Yeah. No, blue cheese.
Yeah.
Look, curse at me. I love Thousand Island and I dig ranch. That's about it.
I like a balsamic.
You like a balsamic.
Yeah, and my own.
By the way, I can deal with the balsamic, and by the way, it's the healthiest. Forget the balsamic and vinegar, just balsamic, which I learned to put on my salad. Great flavor, but I
add a little Dijon, and it's perfect.
Well, you like Dijon, and we've talked about this. I like French's. Not Dijon, yellow mustard, and deli mustard, which sometimes can be kind of Dijon-like. I just like plain yellow.
All right.
I'm a big bull of boring. Keep going.
Okay, so Larry orders this with many substitutions.
I think I'm just going to get a Cobb salad.
Okay.
Cobb salad. And I want to make just a couple of substitutions, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay. I'll get no bacon.
No bacon. All right.
No eggs.
No eggs.
No eggs.
Take it easy.
No?
Blue cheese on the side.
Take it easy.
Are you sure you want a Cobb salad?
Yeah, you should get something
You know, once you
else,
get like
really.
a...
I'm getting David salad.
Yeah, it is a David salad.
And I'll get add cucumbers
mutation.
if you can. Okay.
Add cucumbers.
Yeah, and if the chef can't do this, if he makes a face at all, just come back and let me know. Okay?
No faces.
Yeah.
All right.
All right?
Well, all right.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I love what he says. If the chef makes a face, let me know, which is something we used in a later episode.
Most certainly, but just that sentence alone is so wonderful. If the chef makes a face, all right, I'll read. Let me know. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, and Cliff seems upset about this, that
Yeah,
Larry
he
is
is
getting
nonplussed.
substitutes. He's nonplussed. And then he tells everybody that his grandfather invented the Cobb salad.
Mm-hmm.
That
At the Drake Hotel in Chicago. And so funny, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, is that where it started? I thought it started at the Brown Derby. And then I thought, well, maybe he worked at the Drake before he worked, whoever this is.
So you had forgotten the episode.
Oh, by the way, watching these early episodes now, I have forgotten at least half of the things that go on.
The content. And so people know we are now in 2023, and this was shot, 2001 probably?
Actually in the 40s.
That's when the salad. And Cheryl continues about, I want to go out in the rough and the Amazon. And Larry counters Cliff saying his grandfather's made the Cobb salad. My grandfather's name was Harold Bingo. He invented bingo.
Which I think is a thing of beauty. Those are one of those things I look back that you know me with names.
Yeah.
That I wonder if I told him to say that or suggested
But
that.
you don't remember.
No, I don't remember, but it sounds like me. But nonetheless,
It does.
Larry and I have such a similar sense of humor that
But you're more namey than he is.
I'm way more namey.
Yeah,
As a matter of fact, the other day, I said, did you hear about, he loves the New York Rangers. And I said, speaking of bingo, this is the name I said to him. I said, did you hear about the Rangers' new trade? And I felt bad because he got so excited. I go, yeah, they got from Kansas City, Bingo McTuesday, old Bingo McTuesday.
He knew immediately.
No, he did. He went, really? And by the way, there's no team in Kansas City. So therefore, on a lot of levels. And then he burst out laughing. And he kept saying to me throughout the day, what was that name? I love that name. So I make him laugh with my name.
I recall I was there, I believe, that day.
For Bingo McTuesday? Yes.
Now, Anna has asked a question, our producer, executive producer.
Delightful producer. I told you to use that adjective.
And she said, was the Cobb salad story improvised or in the outline? Now,
without a doubt, it's in the outline.
Exactly.
Something specific is that.
What I was just going to complain, when it's a story point like that, which comes back later, it's almost always in the outline.
But by the way, we will sometimes massage the outline. I hate that term. So why did I use it? What's wrong with me? We will sometimes, the outline will, what's in the outline will change and develop, but the same story is there.
If it's a story point, it's almost always in the outline.
A guest actor is not going to say something like
bring up such a big story point that my grandfather invented the Cobb salad.
I could see, by the way, Vince Vaughn doing that and improvising it. But outside of people that are extremely, a very high skill level, that will never happen.
And not just a skill level. You could be a highly skilled actor, but there's a presumptuousness in it. So Vince, Freddie Funkhauser.
Would do it to make Larry laugh.
Yes, but Freddie Funkhauser or our darling friend Bob, who was Marty
Bob
Funkhauser,
Einstein, yeah.
they're part of the family. It's
Right.
different.
No, with them it is, most certainly. By the way, when you're part of actually, I always tell guest actors, say what you want, we can always fix it. Just make it up. You can refer to ballooning, that you love ballooning, even though it has nothing to do with the story. And one of us might say to you, or Larry, no more ballooning, that's the way he tells me not to do something. He sort of hesitates.
But at the same time, for example, on Thursday, I believe it was, we were doing a scene, and I'm not going to say what it was, and we did it over and over again. And then the last take, we came up with a golden thing just out of nowhere.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh, yes. She gave me a hand signal that told me what that is.
So we sometimes do that with each other.
Hold on. That scene, by the way, I really feel, over all the years, is one of the funniest scenes I've ever been a part of.
That was a funny scene.
I really feel that all the stuff we've done this year.
For all you folks listening, you'll see it in season 12.
But it is truly one of the funniest scenes I've ever been. And by the way, everything that happens in that scene, here's what separates it. Literally, every aspect of that conversation, gems are floating out of everyone's mouth. But
it was all part of the reason for that was not just how good we are.
No, it was in the script.
It was set up. The situation is hilarious.
And we just ran with it,
right?
Which we're apt to do. And it was really, really, it was so much fun and funny. And it was just the three of us, Larry, you,
which
and
we
myself.
Love.
Yes, always, yes.
We love it. It's Cheryl,
so
Ted,
those are the fastest too.
Yeah.
If it's just the regulars, it really goes by fast. But dinner, by the way, a dinner scene with lots of guests, no, thank you.
Well, it depends on who the guests are.
No, hold on. The other night we did a dinner scene, and everyone there was part of the show.
Right.
And I got to tell you, you have people up there who are not part of the show, that scene goes twice as long.
Right. But,
no doubt about
but
it.
if it's you and me and Freddie and Ted and Cheryl and,
Yeah. So.
JB.
Yeah.
All right. Now we cut to, we're at the.
Did I ever tell you the JB story?
Which one?
Well, did I ever mention on this show? I don't know. JB. When we're doing in a scene, like for example, we did one recently. JB and I are walking with Larry. Larry has to go off somewhere and JB and I are left. Now, one thing you know about the show, and I don't think there's ever been an exception, once Larry leaves the screen, you're cut out. Nothing you say. It's happened to us so many times. We've come up with some really funny shit. And if it's in the script, it'll stay. But after Larry leaves, it's
meaning in the script, if it's part of the storyline,
right? And Larry, yes, but when Larry leaves, it's over. Now JB, whether Larry leaves or not,
he stays in character.
He stays in character, and he'll be talking to me in character. We're way off screen, and my favorite thing to say to him is, "Who are you? What's going on? Are you Leon or are you JB right now?"
Who are quite different.
Quite different. So he always, because I think he goes into a zone or whatever. Yeah, and then he, of course, laughs at himself. He has a great sense of humor.
But, I will do that as well because it's fun. It's
by
play.
The way, who makes fun of you more for doing that?
Do.
I know. Okay.
Okay, so now we're at the screening. 30 Below is on the marquee. That's the name of the movie. Did Cliff write it, direct it? I wasn't really clear on that.
I think he directed it.
Yeah. And Larry runs.
Although we'll get to that. I have a point. It's another one of my.
Larry.
By the way, hold on. This is one of my things. Technically, in those days when you put something up on green screen, whatever it is, it looked horrible. So they look like
did look horrible.
Like a floating cloud of jizz announcing the name of the movie. It really did look like that. It looked like an amoeba.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this looks horrible.
Yeah.
So
and that's just technology.
Well, I get upset.
Yeah.
Like I did in the thong when they had the blue sky, which I just talked with Larry about. Just unnecessary.
Yeah.
Because by the way, you're saying, like move along. But by the way, plenty of people go to the beach when it's cloudy and hang out there.
I do all the time.
Right.
I like a cloudy day.
That was my thing, but I didn't control it.
Santa Barbara, sunny.
Yeah.
Okay, so and Larry runs into a guy. It's like, Larry, hey, let's golf sometime. And Larry awkwardly says, I don't golf anymore. Now, what's interesting is in that moment, watching this, because I haven't seen it for 21 years, I assumed the reason he said he was not golfing anymore is because he didn't want to golf with that guy.
Right, but
there was an ulterior motive.
I know, but hold on there. I got watching, I had forgotten, if you pull into a two-shot, which we did there when Larry was saying that on his side, well, the person in the two-shot has something to do with what he's saying. Now, the guy who came up to him was so perfectly cast because he couldn't have been sweeter and more affable. Danny Breen, a hero of mine from Second City, who I was so honored to have him on the show. And he's that person in real life, the sweetie, smart. And he did something later that just killed me, but we can move on now.
We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Larry, he's playing a lot of golf. We should play sometime. I don't play golf anymore, Larry says. And to us, it's like, why does he play golf? And he starts to whistle. He's standing around waiting, and he starts to whistle, which Larry is a very big whistler.
Larry, by the way, Larry sings and whistles all through the time. Day. And so if you're listening, you can imagine that, and with joy, by the way. And so many times he starts singing something that I would have thought he's never even heard.
Usually musicals.
Yeah, but he does Beach Boys. He does also, he did U2 once. And I'm like.
That's shocking.
No, but I'm saying, and I go, where did that come from?
So Larry starts whistling Wagner.
Yep.
And he tells Cheryl the story about how Wagner wrote this piece for his wife, Cosima, and how she woke up one morning and he was in the courtyard or the living room or whatever conducting it. And Cheryl finds that incredibly romantic and moving. And then a man behind them very belligerently says, "Excuse me, are you Jewish?" Which is
the best part of that exchange, because it is shocking to be asked if you're Jewish that way.
He was aggressive.
I know, but the only other person who would be aggressive might be a Nazi soldier.
Right.
I'm saying it's aggressive. Like the scariest scene maybe I've ever seen in the movie is in The Pianist, when he goes out in the hallway from the apartment he's staying in, and a woman sees him, and she points with two fingers, Jew, and she says it in the most angry way. She reckoned it, Jew, Jew, Jew. That scared the fuck out of me.
This felt different.
I know, but it still was shocking.
Yes. And Larry says,
"You want to check my penis?"
Okay.
Huh? Is that what you want to do?
My real question is, what were you whistling? What were you whistling?
Hello, darling?
No, it was Wagner.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
You,
it's a
sir,
major
$100.
I want to know what a Jew is whistling Wagner
Do you
for
want to know?
when he was one of the great anti-Semites of the world. You know what you are?
What am I?
You're a self-loathing Jew.
Am I?
Oh,
Well,
yes,
let me tell you
yes.
something. I do hate myself, but it has nothing to do with being Jewish, okay?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with Jews.
Yeah.
As millions of Jews
right.
were taken to the concentration camps with Wagner being played in the background.
You know?
Yes, Hitler's favorite composer.
Really?
Yes.
You know what? They got a mental asylum a couple of blocks down.
No, not a mental assignment.
I suggest you go and check yourself
Where's your
in.
Judaism?
Judaism, where are you? Where are you,
Judaism? You have this attitude that you're better.
They should put a muzzle on you. You're foaming at the mouth.
No.
Please,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. Now, this is something you need to think about, all right?
yeah, I'm Jewish. You want to check my penis?
Yeah.
And this guy who is, we find out later his name is Walter, and he is Zane Lasky, is the actor.
Zane Lasky, who, wonderful man. And
was a regular on Knots Landing, believe it or not.
Well, he was a regular at the farmer's market where I hung out with him.
We used to hang out.
And he said, anything I'll do on the show, anything. So that part kind of came up.
And
by the way, it's so easy when someone asks you to do the show, when something comes up that they're actually perfect for.
So it's a great feeling. You feel terrific about that. I was just telling you a story about that this morning. And you see this Walter getting angrier and angrier. You were whistling Wagner, one of the great anti-Semites of the world. And he accuses Larry of being a self-loathing Jew. So which I have experienced from people a couple of times in my life. And it's extremely disconcerting when it happens. Once I was in a writing class and they asked to write a description of something, and I wrote a description of my grandparents' apartment in the Bronx, and this other very Jewish woman told me that I was a self-loathing Jew for how I described it. I was just being accurate because I don't think I'm a self-loathing Jew. And the other was at some gig where some man told me because I was doing imitating my mother and doing her exactly, and you've met her, that I was a self-loathing Jew.
By the way, you're doing your mother is really, well, you're her daughter, but I want to say always in those situations, in reality, it's about the person saying it to you.
Correct.
It's not remotely about you.
They're the self-loathing.
They're a big bowl of
So he
self-loathing.
accuses Larry, and Larry says, I do hate myself, but not for being Jewish, which I love that line.
That's a great line.
And Walter starts going, it's Hitler's favorite composer. And Larry says, and there's a mental asylum down the block. Because the guy is clearly off the fucking wall.
One of the things that bothered me about that scene was how quickly it escalated. We would never do that now.
Yeah.
There'd be a buildup. This went from 0 to 80 to 100. And it was very
And the only
disconcerting.
person who does that is Mrs. Green.
But that, hold on, you say that, but no, what you do is you go back and forth. Quiet and reasonable. Get the fuck out of my house. Quiet and reasonable. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? It's
But
like
that's
you
an
bounce,
established thing.
but that's part of your character. So no one's jarred by that. You did one the other day that just killed Larry and I. Killed it. You get the fuck out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
It was so funny, especially where it came out of. So you play that back and forth, which I think is a thing of beauty.
So you feel this was a directing thing in with Walter?
I feel, hey, I'm there. Larry's there. Larry Charles, the director. We're all there. I don't know what we discussed.
Yeah.
I don't know where it went. I don't know if Larry's. I don't know. By the way, Larry and Charles agreed a lot, and maybe Larry David said no. I don't remember.
But I think the point that you're making, Jeff, if I may,
I'm always making,
is how as the seasons went along, things became more refined and subtle.
Well, right, where we're still finding our voice.
Yeah.
So we would have. By the way, if that happened now, after the first take, Larry, Jeff Schaefer, myself would go, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's go here. But by the way, that's usually Larry. Right after we shoot, Larry will turn to somebody, not wait for me, not wait for Jeff Schaefer. He will turn to somebody and explain how he wants it done.
Yeah.
It's pretty great.
And apparently this Walter is a friend of Cliff's, and Cliff tells Larry, he lives around the block from you. He's in your neighborhood.
Right.
Then we're in the theater, and we see Larry is sitting between Cheryl and Shelley. Was that her name? Shelley, yes. And he's crunching popcorn loudly. Walter turns around, can you keep it down? And you see Shelley kind of sidling up to him a little bit,
but
just subtly.
But he's sidling up to her, too.
Subtly. It's very subtle. Nothing's
well, no,
overt.
obviously he's clearly not, but he's not aware that he's responding to her.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
He thinks it's all strange.
Right.
But he's definitely giving her hints, of
It depends on how you want to interpret it. Yeah. You could go either way.
If I'm her,
yeah,
I would definitely interpret that way.
Okay. Larry yawns. Cheryl hits him. Cheryl's annoyed at him this entire episode, and rightfully so. Then they're outside. They're talking to Cliff. Larry can't believe he had the guy coming out of the freezing water and how great it was. And Cliff's not buying that Larry really liked it, I think.
Oh, by the way, I want to jump back to something. When they're watching in the theater, there is no dialogue on the screen, and it's the most inappropriate, wild, lush soundtrack that's playing, and it just was so wrong. It was wrong.
I didn't notice it.
And by the way, this episode, a lot of times where Larry's doing comedy, and this has always been something bothersome to me, we've eliminated. I always say to Larry, why do we need music over this funny music to show that you're being funny? You're Larry David. You're funny, and what you're doing is funny. Why do we have bouncy, stupid music to go over it? But that's also a growth of the show.
Yeah. The music has changed tremendously, I've noticed. And the music is become, to me now, such a huge part of the show.
But it is, but we've gotten to the specifics. I don't know if we even introduce any new music anymore unless it pertains to the scene.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I don't think so. Not for years.
Right.
So then Shelley says, let's go out for a drink. And Cheryl says, Larry, probably not. He's got a big day tomorrow. And Larry said, what do you mean? I'm just sitting around. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting around. I don't have a big day tomorrow. And it's a little it's a little weird. And then Shelley goes in to hug Larry goodbye and hugs him a little bit too long.
Right. And by
it's
the way,
awkward.
that one he doesn't reciprocate. And that one he has a feeling of like,
something's
this is
weird.
Something's weird
off.
about this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then they're home. Larry's brushing his teeth. We have a lot of scenes of Larry brushing his teeth
By the
in
way,
this show.
what does he love?
He's a man who loves to floss, as do I.
Yeah, but he loves clean breath, clean teeth.
Yes.
And Shelley Berman, when he was first on the show.
Who played Larry's father later on.
One of the great
talk about
comedians of all
Shelley.
time. We, without doing it as a joke, everybody, when he first got there, had been offering him a mint. Not because his breath was bad, because that's just our way.
Yeah.
You want a mint? You have a roll of Lifesavers Wintergreen?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to offer it to you. He thought... And he was very upset. He thought he had terrible breath. Why is everyone doing this to him? It was very upsetting to him.
Shelley had a bit of a paranoid personality as well.
Oh, by the way, he took things very seriously.
Very, very personally.
Very personally.
Yeah.
But that one,
we'll have a lot to say about Shelley.
No, by the way, who we love too.
And when did Shelley come in? Was that season 4 or 5?
I think season 16.
No, seriously, when did he come in?
I don't remember.
All right, we'll see. We'll get to that.
Yeah, because there'll be
so
an
Larry's
episode
brushing
I watched.
his teeth.
Yeah.
Cheryl's on the phone with Wanda talking about what happened that evening. She loved the movie. Larry yawned. He says he was just sitting around. He says he's going to be sitting around tomorrow. He's playing golf. And Larry then chimes in.
If I was handicapped, I would want people to tell me that they're sitting around.
Is that right?
I'm going out. I'm going golfing and horseback riding.
It makes
so
him
he
feel
doesn't
good
get
for you to
upset.
lie to him? I know.
If I was
Okay.
playing checkers, I would have
Okay.
told him I'm playing checkers.
That is such a Larryism to me.
Right. And by
Which
the way,
shows the sensitive side of
I know,
him.
but that also is a very real thing that Larry might do.
Yes.
He
Not
might
wanting
do.
to make somebody feel bad because
Yeah.
they're in a wheelchair
Well,
and he's out enjoying
By
his
the way,
golf
I've
game.
always said, but in my friendship with him, you can't take anything he does personally because he goes into his head for comedy reasons. Like when we're on the set, I always make jokes. I'll be telling him something. He will get an idea, turn away and lose interest in me.
No, he's not
And then-
present.
I know,
He's in
but
his-
then I'll go into a whole story about me shooting somebody with a shotgun and then making pastries, like absurdism.
He doesn't hear.
No, he eventually does realize what's going on and burst out laughing. But the person Larry is would never want to hurt anybody.
No, he's
ever.
very
So if
sensitive.
he's present, I almost said when he's president, he will always be, on the air.
And that's what his character is doing right here.
Yeah.
He did not want to say he's playing golf because he didn't want Cliff to feel bad that he's wheelchair bound and Larry is mobile. Shows up next day at the office in golf attire. And we know that it's Halloween that day because he says to his secretary, his assistant, who's terrific, by the way, any messages.
She was very vibrant and really good.
And she was in several seasons.
Yeah. She's a Groundlings actor.
Larry says any messages, and she says Shelley Cobb called. He assumes it's about the bracelet because he's waiting for the bracelet to be ready. Bracelet's ready, and he says to her, get information on the Cobb salad because he doesn't really believe Cliff.
Hold on a second here. You're missing the nuance there, and it's an aging nuance. He says to her, go on the internet.
Right.
And look up however you look up stuff.
Right.
Find me if it, and.
Although it's an aging thing, but this was also 21 years ago.
Right.
This was pre-Google.
No,
We didn't
that's
even
my
have
point.
Google then.
My point is that it was so funny the way he told her to do it.
So then he calls Shelley. He goes into his office, calls Shelley because he wants to find out about the bracelet. And clearly,
By the way, Larry does great phone.
great phone. And clearly that is not why Shelley was calling because we
Yes.
hear the one side of the conversation from Larry.
Yeah. Okay. We should go out. Yeah, I'll talk to Cheryl. Oh. Just you and me? Oh. Oh my God. Shelley, no. That was just a joke because they were talking so much. It was like a joke for their benefit. Oh my God, no. Oh no, that was just an arm. I was just stretching my arm. That didn't. Oh no, Shelley. No, Shelley, of course not. Please, Shelley, don't. But no, that's not true. But what about the bracelet? Shelley,
And he's like trying to dig himself out of the hole, which was not of his making in this particular time. Plenty of times he did it.
I felt that the person that I know on screen and off wouldn't have been that naive.
Possibly.
She sent very strong signals.
Possibly.
And by the way, she was so interested.
Yeah. Well, who could blame her? And then he gets off the phone with her. He's very upset because he's worried about the bracelet, and he realizes that she thought he was coming on to her. When he said we should have sex sometime, it was just a joke. And his assistant tells him the Cobb salad was founded by Bob Cobb, the owner of the Brown Derby, and it was first made at the Brown Derby. And Cliff Cobb lied about his grandfather being the founder, the creator of the Cobb salad.
That cuts him to the core. That really,
What was he lying about? A fucking salad.
Right. By the way, it's strange in a Curb Your Enthusiasm way,
right?
Which I love.
Right.
It's just absurd that he would make up that it was the Drake Hotel, the whole thing. Okay.
In Chicago. All right. Cut to, we're home. It's trick-or-treaters. The adorable little kids are coming to the door. He's passing out candy. Fine. Cheryl's making little bags of candy corn, whatever the hell it was. And then the doorbell rings. He opens it, and there are two teenagers in no costume, very sullen. They look to be, 18, whatever.
I don't think that old, but yeah, a lot more than in Larry's mind, maybe the cutoff is 12. Larry's always obsessed with cutoffs.
He brings that up.
Yeah, and they're way past the cutoff for him.
And then no costume at all. And he says to them, how old are you?
13.
13?
Yeah.
You look more like 16 or maybe even
No,
17.
we're 13. Can we just have our
You're
candy,
13?
please? Can I get some candy?
Where's your costumes?
I'm being my sister.
You're being your
This
sister.
is my costume.
teacher.
You're a teacher, yeah.
So can we get
Boy,
some candy,
I'd like to get
Grandpa?
my seat in
Honestly,
your
can we have our
class.
candy?
Yeah, candy.
Hello.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Are you kidding?
It's
No.
Halloween.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're entitled to just go around to people's homes and bilk them out of candy.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
God,
Thanks for
asshole.
nothing,
Fuck
Matthew.
you.
And he refuses to give them candy because they're just trying to bilk him out of candy. And he gets very upset about it. And Cheryl's like, just give him the candy. What's the big fucking deal, And then cut to the next morning, their entire yard and house is toilet papered all over. And there's a big spray paint in bright goldish yellow paint on their front door. Bald asshole. Argues with Cheryl, and he's sticking to his guns. They're using Halloween to get candy. Cheryl doesn't understand that. He's like, there should be a cutoff. What's the cutoff? 40. I mean, it becomes a whole cause
by the way,
celeb.
40. That's a very, very funny line. Now, Cheryl and Larry are great in this scene, but my problem with the scene is that's a professional toilet papering. Two teenage girls are not going to be able to put up that much toilet paper and reach the heights they did. So I'm watching it going, who toilet papered this? A party company? I'm just saying those are the things.
That didn't bother me one iota.
Well, you're wrong.
Yeah. No, it's not right or wrong.
No, it is wrong.
It's different.
No, it's wrong. It's different and
Cheryl
wrong.
says something very important at the end of the scene. Not everyone knows your rules, Larry, because Larry's got so many rules that this cutoff and this correct behavior, and not everyone knows your rules.
And by the way, his rules, as absurd as they may seem in the show, people watching are go, oh, I agree. I know that
almost always,
most of the audience is saying, oh, I agree with that. Oh, yeah, that's the cutoff.
But Cheryl's point of view is correct as well, because her point of view is, they're trying to bilk you out of candy. Who cares? Give him a Mars bar. You know what I mean? What's the big fucking deal?
Yeah.
But he's always standing on principle.
Well, that's
always
who he
standing
is.
on principle.
And,
Next, we are at the front door, and the cops are there. And the cops are played by our colleagues and friends, Steve Scrovan and Reggie McFadden.
And I'm friends with both of them. I got Reggie on the show. And Reggie, at some point in the 90s, he completely disappeared.
Yeah, I haven't seen him.
And I Google his name. Nothing comes up except for, he was on Def Comedy Jam or something. Like a real, And
So
it's
Reggie, if
and I
you're
used to
listening,
love
get in
Reggie.
touch.
But if anyone knows if any of my friends know, or your friends know, we know a lot of
And
comedians.
these are all guys that we started in the 80s
yes,
with.
very much so.
Scrovan more so
Well,
than Reggie was later.
Yeah, but Scrovan was
Went
a
on
guy
to-
when I was younger in the scene. I admired him greatly.
Oh, he was a terrific
and he
comic.
had that show on MTV. I forgot, the Big Something or something.
Yeah.
And he interviewed. I remember watching in Catch, everybody crowded around TV. He was interviewing Cher, and I remember all of us saying, Steve Scrovan, like we weren't judging, like, Steve Scrovan and Cher, that makes no, everyone's like, wow, that was the thought back then.
Yeah.
You really cheered each other on, wow, he's interviewing Cher. He's really made it.
And went on to have a very successful career as a writer-producer. He was a writer-producer on Everybody Loves Raymond.
And Seinfeld he wrote on.
And several things after that, Pursuit of Happiness, I
A
think,
very
many
thoughtful
things.
and charitable man.
And
I've done charity shows
He's
for
a
him.
terrific guy.
Yeah, the
Love him,
best.
terrific guy.
But Reggie McFadden, if anyone who knows me or Susie, who knows the current state of Reggie McFadden, where he is, what he's doing, please let us know.
And by the way, also, I thought that Scrovan was terrific as playing the cop. His questions,
he was perfection.
He's asked Larry wants him to find these girls and find their parents, and he asks them to describe them. And it's like, well, is he just describing everybody in this neighborhood?
By the way, when he said trick or treat, the trick, he goes, what does it have to be, felony? I think it's felony or treat.
He describes the one girl as Elvira-ish because she had long black hair, and Scro says,
So he was kind of in a little bit of a costume there then, with the Elvira thing.
No, that wasn't a costume. I'm just using Elvira to describe her, that's all. It's just it's a shorthand.
They knocked on the door, they said trick or treat.
Yeah, they said trick or treat, and
you had treats.
Yeah.
I was giving out candy all night, but I don't have to give them candy. They don't deserve candy, and I don't deserve this. Bald asshole? That's a hate crime. We're a sect, we're a group. You can't call us bald assholes. What if we were gay? There would be gay asshole? That's a hate crime.
But by the way, I want to say that performance of Scrovan, the entire scene, Larry was cracking up.
Of course.
Because Scrovan, he knows Scrovan personally, and Scrovan played that completely deadpan.
Completely
He was
straight.
the straight man, and he knew it. It was awesome.
Larry then claims the fact that they wrote bald asshole makes the whole thing a hate crime.
Hate crime, I know.
Because they consider themselves to be a group, the bald community.
Yeah.
And Reggie McFadden, who has a shaved head, says, well, I'm bald.
And I don't take offense.
Larry says, and he has said this to my husband, Jimmy, who also has a shaved head, you're not bald. That's a look you're cultivating for fashion purposes. And we don't consider you part of the bald community, which is
I love,
hilarious.
yeah.
And he really believes that, I think.
Yeah. Obviously, with my hair, and although I shaved my head one season.
You did. That
Yeah,
was
so
season
that was, he
7.
couldn't believe that I would do that.
Oh, God, that was so strange looking.
It was. Well, for a while when I was first doing it, I walked around setting a mohawk.
But I don't remember that. But
No,
you
'cause
didn't you also have a bald cap, too?
No, that was on a reshoot.
Okay, that's what
A
that was.
reshoot
I remember
with
that
the bald
somehow.
cap, which looked good, by the way. The guy who did that was good, but
And Scro says to him, playing the cop, there's a social contract when you open that door that you give the candy. I would advise you to give the treat next time. And Larry's, I will not be intimidated,
he's
even on
defiant.
Halloween.
Yeah.
Next we cut to, he's going to visit you on your office.
Well, what's bad? What I wrote down bad. It looks like I wrote down Bill Maher. Bad makeup. Oh, I literally looked like I was from Raggedy Ann. My cheeks were so rosy. My skin was over. Yeah, it looked insane. It looked like I had lost my mind, and I had trouble focusing after that. That's all I'm saying.
But what I also thought was funny is as he's entering your office, the stairway to your office is filled with people smoking.
And by the way, sometimes it is that many people.
But not anymore so much.
No,
It
not
used
anymore.
to be.
But by the way, a lot of those people died of lung cancer.
Unfortunately, or
that's
emphysema.
that's why the numbers are smaller now.
But
They've been eliminated.
it's just another example of 20 years ago, 21 years ago, how different things. There used to be in Manhattan, where I live, in an office building, it would be packed
Hold on a second,
downstairs.
though. But do you remember as a young comedian performing in clubs
Horrible.
and clouds of smoke?
Clouds of smoke, and they
I
were
didn't
always
like
up
it,
front.
but I didn't like it, but I didn't. There was no secondhand smoke information at
Yeah,
that point.
well, we probably have inhaled so much secondhand smoke
Oh,
from
my
being in
God.
comedy clubs.
No, it
and you
was-
would go home after a Saturday night when we used to do
The
4 or
smell.
5. Stink.
Of
I would have a black, a garbage bag, a green garbage bag next to my door, and I would immediately take all my clothes off, put them in the bag, run into the shower, and wash my hair because we
So you
stunk.
threw the clothes out?
No, I would wash them, but I had to keep them separate than in my hamper because they smelled so bad.
because you had
We would
garbage
just
bag.
reek of cigarettes.
No, it was wrong.
But there was part of that, not that I liked it, I never liked it, but there was part of that changed when they stopped doing smoking. There was that down and dirty nightclub feeling.
By the
you
way,
know what I
I've
mean?
told people I in my career, which was started in 1982, have more in common with the era of the magnificent Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah.
More in contact than I do with the what's going on now. I have no.
Yeah, they were the
I do my
smoke-filled,
thing.
low ceiling. And
Yes.
most comedy clubs have low ceilings.
By the way,
so
let's also
laughter
establish that low ceilings are essential for
for
comedy.
laughter to hover.
Yes.
Because laughter is contagious.
Yeah,
and
that's why I've done I've done one outside.
I've done a
thing,
few. They're
and I
horrible
died.
because the
They're
laughter
horrible.
goes ah
Yeah,
up in the air.
it just disappears.
So it would be a low ceiling, and it had that feeling of the smoke-filled room
But
and
it
the
was-
dark
it
and the
had
dirty,
the feeling
and
of what
they
you thought a
smelled of
nightclub was.
whiskey, and
Yeah, no, it was definitely, there is something nostalgic about it, but there is also something
was horrible. Yeah.
crazy unhealthy.
Yeah. He comes into your office and you ask him if you want to play golf tomorrow. He said he can't. It's Cheryl's birthday. And what is she, a baby? You have to be with her all day. Interestingly, we did something similar this season, which we're not going to talk about a birthday and having to be there all. It's so clearly this is something on Larry's mind.
By the way, I open up the thing there for a future season. Julia.
Well, yes, I'm getting to that. You asked Larry what's going on with Jason Alexander, and the fact that he had to go to Jason Alexander's office twice has turned him off.
Yeah.
He no longer wants to do the show with Jason Alexander. And you bring up that Julia wants to do a project, and the project he was doing with Jason is a perfect fit for Julia.
Yes.
And he leaves the office, and he says that you decide that he'll play 9 holes, or though you are going to play, but it's early in the morning. He doesn't have to be with Cheryl all day.
Right.
Is what's established.
Yes, and so we have a date for golf.
And you mentioned he's wearing golf attire, and he says, I get a lot of compliments in my golf attire. I look good in this. I'm not playing golf, but I look at, and I mean, I've seen you wear a golf shirt many a day that you're not playing golf, your Lacoste shirts.
But here's the thing. I do wear Lacoste shirts sometimes, but they all come from the show.
I know, but that's my point is men do wear golf shirts when they're not golfing as a style.
Your husband probably.
Yes. And so he's wearing, okay. And then he runs into the same guy, and they're still smoking on the stairway. And
but
then
they're away from the smoke.
Right. And he runs into the same guy. What was his name again?
Danny Breen.
Danny Breen.
Yeah, I don't know
and
his
Danny
character's
Breen
name.
sees him in a golf outfit and assumes he's going to play golf and that he just dissed him, telling him in the earlier thing when he ran into him at the movie theater that he doesn't play golf anymore. He confronts him about the golf outfit, and, Larry's all flummoxed.
Donald, I like the shirt.
I don't want to even
I
hear
get
this
a lot of
anymore.
compliments
Okay,
on
no,
this outfit.
Fine. Okay, if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's
No,
going to be.
it's not the way it's going to be. I
I'll see you,
I
Larry.
like the clothes.
Yeah,
you don't have to just wear them on a golf course.
Oh, you're sick.
You can wear clothes. These clothes go.
Stop it.
First off, Danny Breen's performance. He doesn't explode.
No,
You
he's
feel his
very
hurt.
subtle.
You feel his hurt.
see it on his face.
And the greatest shot, which I didn't notice back then, and I'm watching now, is him going up those smoking steps with his head held down, really disappointed
Dejected.
and sad. Yeah. And it was so subtle. He didn't go overboard in showing that.
Well,
but you
that's
looked
good,
at him
yeah.
and he went up the steps, and I went, fucking Danny Breen.
Well, body language is so important to an actor.
Without a doubt. But he played that so perfect. All right.
Then he goes to the Cobb's house because he wants to get the bracelet for Cheryl.
Right.
Because we've established it's her birthday the next day. And it's a little eerie in the house. He walks in the house. He's calling Shelley. Shelley. He goes out to the pool.
Hold on.
There's something menacing
I was
there.
thrown off by him entering the house without yelling. He's saying, Shelley, like, hey, it's Larry, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like making an announcement. So right then and there, I'm like, I can't follow this scene. And then when he's in the room, we see a pool outside, and then we see him in the room with the pool reflection. Again, technically, it was the worst look ever. We were trying to go for an eerie look, and instead, it was like lights in the room sort of making, I think there was a kiddie pool and lights making it look like that.
Yeah.
And
it didn't work for you.
It didn't work because technically, even with lighting, we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
And boom.
Again, early on, it changes.
No, I'm saying I see these things, which now irritate me way more than they might have ever done.
Cliff shows up in his wheelchair.
Yes.
Menacing. I know what's going on. The knee game, you propositioned.
Right.
And Larry's like, I was joking. I asked your wife to blah, blah, blah. It was and then he says, those are golf clothes. Cliff looks at him. Those are golf clothes. And Larry's like, no, people compliment me. That's why I'm wearing them.
But again, this scene, Cliff is too angry. He's screaming at Larry about the golf clothes. What does that matter to you?
Well, because he's really angry that he was trying to fuck his wife.
Well, yeah, but I understand that. Oh, no, I picked that up.
Yes.
But I'm saying went from 0 to 100. Actually, I shouldn't say this. Went from 10 to 100. Again, it's anger, which you understand. But, by the way, when you try and explain yourself, even if you're in the right, never works.
No.
Because the person in the...
You always seem guilty.
Well, by the way, the person listening to it or receiving it, it's personally affecting them, what went down, and they're seeing it their way. You're never going to convince them by being vulnerable and explain yourself, if you're a victim of circumstance, if you will. So I love that thing.
And that happens frequently with Larry.
Well,
frequently.
By the way, frequently with
maybe
anyone.
every episode.
But maybe every person. It's a normal thing.
Yeah, it is. And then Larry has his ace in the hole where he says to him, the Cobb salad was not invented by your grandfather.
Oh, by the way, that should have been the explosion area. Larry explodes, and the guy, his side of the story, he's doing the same thing, explaining his side, which Larry doesn't want to hear. That would have been a nice place for them to explode. And then Larry runs as Cliff's chasing after him.
And then we see Larry on the phone.
Yeah.
And he sees the Elvira girl on the porch as he's on the phone. And we see, Larry doesn't see, her father is Walter.
Up and looking in the window.
The Jewy Jew-man watching from the window.
Jewy Jew-man?
Yes.
Do you know what's so funny? I haven't heard someone say something like that since I lived in New York.
Well, there you go.
You may have said it to me back then.
He Jew shames is what he does.
Oh,
he
my
Jew
God,
shames.
yes.
And we see him looking from the window.
I think, by the way, that, no, I'm not going to say that. Keep going.
And Larry confronts the daughter, the Elvira-ish daughter, and Walter, the father, comes down. What brings you to our Jewish home?
You're a liar as a human being.
Oh, here we go.
I heard about Cliff and his wife.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I heard about you trying to sleep around with her. You're a disgrace to your people. That's what you are.
Here we go. The psychometer's back on now.
Postman! Postman, come here.
Here we go.
Tell the neighborhood.
All right, it's all
What a
started.
shanda, Larry. Larry David. You're a lousy Jew. But you're a lousy human being.
Yeah, on and on and on.
But the daughter is already being an asshole to Larry.
Totally.
Because she knows she's been caught.
And she knows her father will just stick up for her.
Yes, which that really is a big moment of rose-colored glasses.
Yes.
Because it's so obvious that
she's a shit kid.
Yeah, she's guilty.
a shit kid. You're a lousy Jew, blah, 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 and on and on. And then we cut to Cheryl lying in bed and, sleepy, and we hear beautiful music. And then we cut to, we see a string quintet playing Wagner in their hallway, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
And there's a conductor. There's the whole thing.
And you see how moved and touched she is, and they're standing up on the balcony overlooking it. And who shows up coming in the door?
Hold on, though. What was unusual about that when she's moved is we didn't cover, or we didn't use the coverage of Larry's face. We only showed her face, but it was a rare moment between Cheryl and Larry, of intimacy, of warmth and intimacy,
and her being so pleased with him,
and
him doing such a loving. It was a very loving, sweet gesture.
I know, and then it gets ruined.
And then all of a sudden, we see Jeff's face, opening the door in his golf attire, ready, and Cheryl's like, you can't play golf today. It's my birthday, and Jeff's like, you're like, so you know what I went through. You know how hard it was for me to get a day off, and you're upset.
Well, by the way, you're skipping something here. That all I am when I walk through that door is friendly and affable.
Yes,
I smile at Cheryl and wave. And by the way,
I think you even said happy birthday to her. Maybe not. I don't remember.
I don't think I did. But the point is that performance is one of the rare times that I completely nailed the first time. I knew what it was, and Larry Charles and Larry David were very happy with it. So I didn't need to mess around for ego purposes, whatever. It's like, oh, look at that. And I played it very subtly and sweet until
he says he can't play.
Exactly.
And then you get very upset.
Yes.
And
but
then
by
Larry
the way,
tries
not 0 to 100. A solid 35, 40.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a big...
No, Megillah?
It wasn't a big Megillah. It wasn't like the scene we did yesterday.
Yeah.
And Larry's, maybe I could play 9. Maybe I could play 6. And Cheryl's having none of it. No. And you slink off. And here's what's interesting.
I don't slink off. I stay for the rest of the scene, just smiling at the two of them and looking at Cheryl and smiling because I believe that it's okay that I'm there.
Right,
you know
and it's so wrong.
It's so wrong. And you think
but you're clueless.
Completely clueless. Yes.
Now, what's interesting, and I forgot about the next scene.
Right.
It could have ended right there in a sweet note
of a
curve,
but
that's not curve.
No.
So we cut to a big brass band, music playing loud.
No, no. It's the same group of performers that
there was brass. No, the group.
No. It was enlarged.
It was enlarged.
And they're playing classical.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about this visually is Larry is conducting.
Is conducting.
Yeah.
But the first was just a string quintet, which is sweet and chamber
he
music.
added a lot to it.
And then we hear horns and brass, and they're in Walter's, but they wake Walter up. We're in Walter's front yard, and he's conducting with glee.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I love that ending.
No,
and
it's
I
a
love
great
it.
ending.
And I had forgotten that ending. And I really thought for a second, I was like, this is how it ends. It's so sweet and nice. And it's so saccharine-y in a certain way and not curbish. But of course, I was mistaken.
You know, Larry got that note, and I talked about it in the hour special, which HBO wanted Cheryl and I to have more conflict.
Right. We've talked about this.
Yeah, but the point is that Larry disagreed.
Yeah.
But yet, he still had it in the back of his mind. So for the first couple seasons, he'd put in a little of this, a little of that, of me. It wasn't ever her frustrating me, of me frustrating her. But those gradually completely disappeared to where Cheryl character. Well, actually, in real life, we love each other, but the characters are wonderful.
But you know what? Like in a scene like that, Jeff, that wasn't really between you and Cheryl. That was really between her and Larry, that she didn't want him to play golf.
But she hated me for it.
Yeah. Well, you were the best friend.
Yeah.
And that's the episode, Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next week. Or next time, or whenever.
We have no idea when these are going to air, or what day of the week, or anything.
But we will see you again.
No, we'll hear. No, they won't hear. We won't hear them. They'll hear us again.
Correct.
Yeah, and I guess they're filming us for video, so there'll be clips on YouTube.
They'll see us as well.
Yeah, you can see us on YouTube. It's not the future. It's now.
It's now.
We're speaking to the now. And
Bye.
of course, at this time, I'm only wearing polyester. I've given up cotton. Yeah.